Hello and welcome to Thoughts in the Green Room with your host, Geoff Mays. This week's topic, struggle and juggle. I'd like to share with you this week a little bit of insight into the actor's world and what we go through and how we get to do what we do. It's not an easy task. Something to recognize is that actors are on call essentially 24/7. Auditions can come through any day of the week, any day of the year, any time of the day. Now, granted, auditions typically don't come in between the hours of 8 p.m. and 7 a.m. They don't happen often on holidays, but they can. And it is occasional, not too often, but occasional that you end up with a weekend audition, interrupting weekend plans. That in itself is a challenge. The additional challenge, or the greater challenge in my personal opinion, is the bookings themselves. Bookings can come in well in advance and give you lots of time to prepare. But most often, bookings come in relatively last minute. I could audition on a Wednesday afternoon and find out at 10 o'clock at night that I need to be on set at 9 a.m. the next morning. I could audition for a project 2 weeks ago that I know shoots tomorrow and find out at 11 p.m. that I have to be on set tomorrow. It's an interesting and crazy thing that we do, and what we require in the result to achieve those auditions and those last minute bookings is a flexible, and sometimes for many actors, multiple flexible jobs that afford us the opportunity to call our colleagues, our employers at the last minute and say, yeah, I know it's only 5 hours away, but can you do me a favor and cover this, please? We work with networks of actors to get this done. We work with other actors at our jobs. We try and find places where we're supported and taken care of. Now, when I started this industry many, many years ago, I read texts and I had teachers, and the most common thing that I heard was a version of this statement. If you want to be an actor, you have to be absolutely crazy to pursue it. And after all these years of doing this craft and managing these schedules, I'm starting to fully and absolutely understand what that means. When I think about somebody in the traditional 9 to 5 or a regular work schedule where they go to work at 9, they come home at 5, and then they've got the rest of their evening free to do what they please. They know that Friday at 5 they're off until Monday at 9, and they have no other obstructions other than what they put in their own way. They can spend their time the way they spend it. I think about that freedom sometimes and wonder, wow, that would be great. As actors, we consciously and actively give up that freedom in the pursuit of a dream that seems improbable, if not impossible, to achieve. And we do it all because of a passion, a love for something that can't be filled in any other way. Now, as many actors age and they start to reach my age bracket, many of them start to stop. Many of them do stop. They give up on it and they think that stability, the house, the wife, the kids, all of those traditional trappings of life become more important to them. I don't knock them for that. It's their own thing. Everybody's got to follow their dream. But for those actors like myself who have a passion that cannot be filled with those traditional trappings, we choose continually, time and time again, to forego that stability, to forego that ease potentially in life, to deal with that phone call that comes in last minute and says, we need you on set now. When it comes to a booking, there really is no way out. You're booked. You take it. The only excuse that I see appropriate is if another gig has booked you for another job. First right. Anyway, relate a little story to you, put this into some practical terms. About 2 weeks ago, I received a text message from my agent at 3:30 in the morning. At 5 a.m. I got up to get ready for my day, and I saw the text. I took a look at the callback notice and realized in the callback notice that there was no possible way for me to do the shoot that was scheduled in Vancouver. I had booked a gig with my day job many months ago that was going to afford me a very lucrative return, and it was a direct conflict with the callback, with the shooting, if I were to land the callback. Between the hours of 5 a.m. and 9 a.m., I spoke with my agent, various people at my day job, and I worked my best to see if I could cover my away gig, which I had already booked, to see if there was any way out. I didn't believe there was, but I did my due diligence to see if there was any possibility towards it. The reason why I did this was it was an exciting opportunity to fulfill my passion. And in the end of the day, there was nothing I could do. I needed to stick with my original choice, which had been booked for a good month. Flights had been booked. There were no replacements for me. I couldn't just ditch this offer. There was no way I could get coverage. And this happens occasionally. And I'll be honest, it left me feeling very upset because in those conversations between 5 a.m. and 9 a.m., I discovered through my agent who was on the phone with production that I was one of 5 people in line for this job. That was shooting in Vancouver. That would be 5 days on set. It was a very exciting opportunity, but only a potential. In my hand was a guaranteed lucrative income that I had booked months ago and had decided to accept that offer because the choice that actors have to constantly make and the struggle that we juggle with is not only do we have to meet our regular day job in terms of can you cover last minute, but we have to maintain those day jobs and not burn those bridges in order that we can keep paying our rent and putting food on our table in between gigs. Now here's the next challenge, in between gigs. I've been fortunate, many other actors are fortunate, you get a string and you work for 3, 4, 5 weeks, sometimes months in a row, and you're on a roll. Bang, 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 everything you touch is gold in your booking. Yay for you. But more often than not, gigs come infrequently. And we have no idea when those gigs come. So there is no guarantee that we can step away from our day job and then fill that day job income with acting work because there's no guarantee. We need the day job to pay the rent, to cover the bills, to put food in our stomachs. And this is a constant juggle and a constant struggle that actors face. Being so upset about the loss of what felt like great potential for me this past week, I sat down and I did a lot of thinking. I imagine as I look out into the proverbial audience that's in front of me, to you, my viewers, my watchers, I imagine many of you actors are nodding your head and going, oh man, I have been there. How many gigs have I lost? How many day jobs have I lost? Bridges burned. All of those things we do to meet this unquenchable passion. So I've been sitting in thought, wondering to myself, how can this better be managed? And I don't have any real answers. But what I do have is some thoughts that may offer solace to some of my acting colleagues out there, some of those aspiring artists. And the first thing that I came up with and realized, which helped to set me at ease this week, there's always another job. There's always going to be another acting gig. There's always going to be something else that comes in that gives you that same level of fulfillment. And as much as it sucks that you may have to turn something down because you've booked a commitment to the day work that you cannot get out of for whatever reason, there will be other acting jobs. To that point, I remind actors and encourage actors to take the time and connect with their agents and do their bookouts appropriately. Minimize those potential conflicts, if not for your agent's sake, but for your own sanity. The other thing that I started to think about is what can we as artists do to minimize that further than some psychology? And I sat down with pen and paper. I ran the numbers for myself. I took a look at future financing and what it would take me to do and achieve, monetarily speaking, to allow myself the freedom to step away. How long could I step away for if I made that choice based on my existing income? And I ran those numbers and played with that, and I've come to some decisions for myself. But I encourage you as artists to maybe do the same thing. Figure out where you can sit. How long would it take you to create a nest egg in order to step away from the day jobs and pursue the craft. This is a risk. It's something that some of you may try. Some of you would throw it out the window and not even think about it. I encourage the thought process at least. And I offer this. I believe, and in speaking to my fellow artists who have the success and no longer need the day jobs, that the freedom to step away from day work and allow yourself that opportunity of growth and just focusing in on the craft, being able to answer the audition, answer the booking without a bat of the eyelash and say, yes, book me on that. Yes, I will be there. No, I don't have to take any time to think twice and try and get somebody to cover my schedule because I don't have a schedule to cover. That freedom that they have is one that allows them a greater return for their acting. So though the initial step was scary, the income, like the jobs, came when they generated space for it to come into their life. Now, for any of you out there who aren't artists and who don't face this kind of challenge, you're sitting there thinking possibly, man, Geoff and all of his fellow actor friends, they're nuts. And I bring you back to the thing I heard the most often, the thing I read the most often in all of the texts, the biographies of famous artists. They all said one thing consistently. If you want to be an actor, you have to be crazy to pursue this craft. If there is anything else in the world that satisfies you, do it, not acting. This is a truth of our industry. These are my thoughts from the green room, a little insight into the actor's mind and the actor's chaos and what we do to fulfill a passion, a dream, something that may be improbable, maybe impossible, but something we do because we are so fulfilled by what it gives us when we are able to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, those are your thoughts in the green room. I hope this gives you some insight, and we will see you in just a few minutes.